Hi, thanks for joining me today. Are you worried that your stepchild is displaying signs of anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder, or self-harm? Are they adopting kind of negative, annoying coping behaviours? And are you worried about this? Subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell and I'll let you know every time I post. It is quite common when you join a step family to find that the children could be slightly prone to certain kind of anxiety or anxiety type behaviours or OCD, which is a sort of obsessive compulsive disorders. And maybe you're not struggling with the full-blown thing, but you may be seeing mild examples of compulsive behaviour or anxious behaviour, or indeed even self-harm, pinching themselves, pulling their hair, whatever. And it can be quite disturbing to see this when you join a step family, and worrying. And it is worrying. And anything that's on the extreme end of that needs professional advice and care. But if you're looking at the sort of very mild end of the spectrum, where the child has got habits or tics or things that they repetitively do, or things that they can't do because they're anxious, they can't go out, they can't sleep alone, they can't sleep without the light on, the fan on, the noise in the room. They have constant worries about their health or these kind of things, or that they can't do something until they've counted the steps or folded the something a number of times, or whatever it happens to be. And this is more normal in a step family because the child has gone through some kind of transition or transitions, which has meant that they have had to sort of engage in coping mechanism. And that is what they're doing. And that is where anxiety and compulsive disorders start. But it's also very normal and natural. We all have coping mechanisms. You know how it is when you're worried about something, you might go and eat, or you might go and make yourself a cup of coffee, or you may have a drink, or we all have things we do and places we go to help us cope with life's stresses. And I'm sure you know what yours are. And what we see in children when we see these kind of activities, these displacement activities, is just them wanting to cope, just to cope. And what they do is they do these behaviours to calm themselves down and to remain in control and to be able to manage what on their own, what often they feel as though they might not be able to manage. And for this, one's got to have a lot of understanding. After all, it's a good mechanism to employ something or an activity to calm yourself down in order to cope. But what's easy to see in a step family, therefore, is you're wanting them to give up those behaviours because they're holding you back, or they may be annoying. And it's very easy to just concentrate on the behaviour and say, stop twiddling your hair, or stop tapping your foot, or leave that alone now, or you don't need to do this or do that, And no, that will never happen. There's no need for you to be anxious about that. That's irrelevant. But those kinds of sort of helpful ways to bring a child out of themselves doesn't always work and isn't always that helpful. What one's needing to do is to provide more security for the child so that they can give up these behaviours on their own. Because after all, we know ourselves that we're coping with stress and we're engaging in our coping behaviours and mechanisms. The things that will stop us from doing that is feeling more calm and managing the underlying situation and not just stopping the behaviours. And that is what one is trying to get to when one's trying to help a child who is displaying some anxious behaviours or coping behaviours that we would rather they didn't do. And so the kinds of things that can help a child feel more secure is a regular routine. So things happen on time. You can ideally set your watch by it. Schools are a good example of this. You go into school and there's a set period of time for every lesson, and lunch happens at the same time each day, as does break and going home time, and everything runs to a routine. And that's not such a bad idea to engage the same kinds of routines at home. So a regular routine and a structure is very, very helpful because the child can then rely on that. And if the child can rely on it, they can engage in these other behaviours less. Another helpful strategy is to help the child feel good about themselves and grow a kind of inner confidence. There are two things that's really worth remembering here. One is giving responsibility for something to a child. So giving them something to accomplish, giving them a task that's theirs to do. It's achieving things in life, and then those things, and this is the second thing, is being noticed for it. So responsibility and praise. Those two things can grow a child's sense of self-worth. So give them responsibility and then notice when they've done it and praise them for it and comment on it and talk about it and grow the child, grow their responsibilities, enable them, valuing the child. So asking their opinion and valuing what they've got to say and taking it into consideration. The thing not to do is to pick at their habits, their coping strategies, the things that are annoying you. As much as possible, ignore those coping mechanisms and instead concentrate on building the child's confidence and self-worth and self-esteem. We run workshops, sessions, we have an email response service, and we write booklets. You can find links to our social media and website in the description box below.